Hi, my name is Ken Candelas, and I am the mad composer of Homerik. You're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
70,000 tons of metal. The original, the world's biggest heavy metal cruise. 60 bands, 4 days, one cruise ship, only 3,000 tickets. From Miami, Florida to Ocho Rios, Jamaica, January 30th to February 3rd, 2025. 5 days and 4 nights mingling side by side with your favorite artists in this incredible fan-friendly scenario that has no comparison. Go to 70,000tons.com and book your ticket now.
Well, I'm in actually SAE Institute here in New York City. I work here as a professor, and I'm just on break, so to speak.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to be honest, knew nothing about the band before I started research. And it's been the theme all day. I found so much good music today. I guess that's the best thing about this podcast. I find stuff that I never probably would have run into. But all I can say is, Ben, how have I missed it? This is pretty in-depth and complex and amazing all at the same time.
Thank you. It's been 10 years. Yeah, what can I say? I mean, this kind of stuff, it really is, it's a work of love. I have been working at making worlds as long as I could remember, since I was, I think, ever since 6th grade. So,
Right.
yeah, it's been just a journey.
And so did you sit down? I've got lots of questions here, but did you sit down specifically to write, Dante's Inferno? Or did you sit down and it just kind of, does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. No, I was actually, at first, when I started Homerik in 2014, I was actually in the middle of a class. It was a world humanities class that was focusing on ancient literature, and Dante's Inferno was one of them. And it was interesting because my teacher had phrased everything as looking at works like mythology. We actually also looked at stuff like the Bible and stuff like that in that class as well. And it was a very secular way of just looking at things.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to me, as just concept-wise, what the story was really about and how it was unfolding. And I started to dive into the works of Homer, including the Odyssey and the Iliad. And the name of Homerik came inspiration from that class.
Right.
But as I was working on the first album, Dante's Inferno was in the back of my mind, but I was knee deep into just exploring my own sound and sonic signature.
Right.
So I was in college. I was going to the studios 24/7 access kind of thing, where I'd spend all night where nobody was in the building, and we would do recordings, and I would get friends of mine from classes to just come in and just, jam. And I was exploring different styles of genres of music while I was doing it at the same time. So Dante's Inferno kind of came into fruition a little bit later, around 2017, 2018, when the first album already had released, and we were on to focusing the next topic, and I really sort of dived jump in fully into the concept.
Great. Not about me here, but in my real-time job, I am a police dispatcher for a university, but I get to go to school for free. So I'm working on my 4th degree here. This one is in religious studies, a master in religious studies. So I started, going down this trip with you on this record, and it was great. I loved it.
Awesome. Did you have a chance to listen to it in Atmos?
No, I did not. That would probably be quite amazing.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out if you have access to AirPods Max or Pros or something like that, or anything that can do any Dolby stuff. Its intention was designed for Dolby, and
So
it
how
really
long does
puts
it
you in the
take to
middle of the
mix?
Inferno.
Yeah, how long does it take to mix something in Atmos? Or I mean, that's not just you got a regular mix, and then you've got to do that as well, right?
Right. So, I think it's interesting because my life, I'm not like working full time on a project like this. I work as a professor, and this is really like kind of something that I can do in between when I work,
Sure.
right? So
What
I'm
I'm doing
always
as well, right?
right. So we're just like normal dudes, just like trying to make something cool. And it took me like probably 4 years to really get through all the production. Yeah, it was post COVID when I got Atmos installed in my studio. And ever since then, I've been exploring the format, and I had already recorded a large portion of the album designed for stereo. So I was really focused in stereo first, and then Atmos kind of came after that. But I really wanted to make Atmos a little bit different, and I really tried not to listen to a lot of Atmos mixes. I really wanted to go with my own intuition.
Right. So this record, I mean, takes you on a journey for sure. So what was it like sequencing, or did you write the record in the way it was going to be sequenced? Because I imagine that was a nightmare to sequence.
Well, tracks 5 through 8 is actually one entire composition. So that was designed as a 33-minute and 3-second piece, just to pay a little homage to Dante Alighieri,
Yeah.
because he's big into the number 3. And so I designed it that way. But the other songs around it had a little bit more of a curiosity to them as to how I would reorder it. I think originally I actually had Godless happen right before the Inferno. But when I wrote the book, we actually flipped it around, where Godless was the first chapter that this is all about. It's just really its own story, its own adaptation of it. So we put Godless first because chronologically in the story made more sense. So, but all the titles, for the most part, they're ordered in a way that is similar to the original poem, which if you see the titles, you'll see cantos and the Roman numerals with them. So those were actually supposed to be representative of the original story. That song is encompassing those entire cantos.
Okay. So I know you have the job as a professor. We're all a little bit older. The music business sort of sucks. Is there any chance this gets on the road properly, like with the stage show and everything? I mean, you have to be envisioning it, right? Because I've only heard it a couple times, and I'm already seeing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. That is definitely the goal. We're kind of working 2 years from now, hopefully, to be able to do something like that. We have to do a couple things in place first, though. As the music industry is on its own, it doesn't make a lot of sense, I think, for certain independent artists to go directly to the road the moment things come out. I think, especially with a project like this, it needs to build its fan base first. The easiest way to do that is the internet. So we're approaching it from that angle first to create a foundation so that when we're on the road, there's a little bit more data that we can work with to say as to where we want to go. So it's all happening in steps, but that in association with my label, Metal Mastermind, that's going to be something that grows alongside it, which is we're trying to do an educational platform for all metal musicians. So hopefully this is something that kind of feeds each other, where that becomes an end result.
Nice. That was beautiful. I like all that.
Thanks.
So, but theatrically, that's on your table, right? Because this has got this. I don't think this is one-offs. I think this is like, great big production kind of thing.
Well, that's the idea.
Like a metal opera.
Absolutely. So actually, one of my goals and dreams is Cirque du Soleil. So this could totally be something, I think, in that realm where it's a little bit more fantastical, and you have a spectacle to look at while everything is kind of happening. So, yeah, a theatrical play or some sort of performative dance that happens on stage while there's music. that's erupting, I think sounds like a really fun time.
No, I mean the whole time I'm listening to it, going, wow, this is pretty. I was on the journey with you, and I'm behind it all the way. I love the whole thing because even if you don't get it to the stage, just listening to it, I don't think you can help but hear the visual.
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
The visual is very important to all of this, and that's actually a good thing to bring up because the idea of the Circle of Dead Children was really supposed to be a journey that harkened to some of the old stories that I really loved reading as a kid. I used to read like Rip Van Winkle's like Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I used to also read like Edgar Allan Poe, and we would like read these stories, and these books would have all these illustrations, these paintings. And I was like, this is like such a really cool way for, as a child, I was like super inspired. And I was like, well, it's tough to talk about books nowadays without people, starting to fall asleep because it's like, oh, there's a lot of text and we're such a video-centric world. So I said, well, if I'm going to bring this story to life, I think one of the things that I'm good at is doing sound to create the world that you experience. So if you close your eyes, you'll hear the world. But a visual aspect to it, like a painting, would be enough to ignite the imagination, just enough to see in your own head. And so we kind of rolled with that. And it was David Milgate's idea, who is the artist that painted everything.
Mm-hmm.
He said, why don't we do paintings that are a collage of what happens in those circles of hell in the story? So we would have a painting that's full color for every single circle, and in between those, if you open the book, you'll actually see black and white illustrations that are moments within the book.
Right. No, that's great. I like the whole narrative sort of storytelling thing that goes along with what you're doing. On the side, I'm working on this lack of a better word, a heavy metal audio, like radio drama. Remember, you used to turn on the radios before the TVs, and it's got these kids and whatever. And I've got musicians, doing the voice acting and stuff, and I love it because I can sit down to people, I give it to you, and they're like, I can see it, and you're just using your own imagination. You're not putting anything in anybody's head, and the story is different from me than it is you, but the pictures are different, but it's all still envisioning the same story.
Right. And, the novel is going to have its audiobook in 2025, and we're going to do something real special with that. The visuals are definitely going to come.
I love it.
It's such a fun project because it really is taking, I think, independent music to a different realm of where we already have been. Maybe even, whatever mainstream has done. I'm not even sure there was really much like this around. It's kind of something that stands hopefully on its own two legs that people can see and not only recognize the ideas and the theories behind it, but also hopefully human morals and things that are a little more reflective. I mean, that's why we kind of call it philosophical metal. It's a blend of symphonic and folk metal, but kind of like how Dante took the language of his people and made it accessible to something where they would have never imagined this before. Hopefully, we're doing a little bit something akin to that, where we question what is, reality, what is the morals of that we live by. So it really is supposed to be a story of humanity.
Okay. So 2 more for you. What's next? What do you have?
Well, directly what's next is the audiobook. So we are this project takes a long time to make. Maybe if things change in certain ways, then maybe we can do things a little faster. But as things go, we have to focus on cementing what this idea is. So we want to do the audiobook for sure. That's coming next year. Subsequent to that, we want to do live shows. And apart from all of that, I'm still working on the next phase. I already have outlines of what happens for the entire saga that's going to happen. So it's all there. And some preliminary ideas and demos for the next albums.
So if fans want to find you, can you give us all your socials, all that fun stuff?
Oh, yeah. Very easy. Anything that's Homerik Official is how you'll find us. That's on, Instagram, X, Facebook, everything. Homerik Official. And Homerik.org. And that's, of course, Homerik with a K, not a C, which is how you actually properly spell Homerik. But with a K. Homerik.org and metalmastermind.com. You can find our store if you want to support the merchandise. That's on metalmastermindshop.com.